So he does go back to East St. Louis and he does spend some time with his family. He eventually does get clean. And then he makes his triumphant return to the city of New York. And he gets back, and then this is where things start going a little better for him.
Yeah.
He starts making his own bands.
Right.
Which include other completely legendary
jazz
musicians.
Yes.
I mean, he's got Coltrane. He's got so many fucking people.
He's got Chick. He's got a lot of people in there. I forgot. It's Jarrett. It's Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea. He's got a good lineup. You got a budding Herbie Hancock who comes up later on in the lineup.
Yeah, a little later.
Insane, a little later. But like, yeah, you know, and to think about it. So when he comes back from Paris, you know, the pressure and the oppression that he felt, it's interesting because it's like his people must have felt that too, right? Because that's the turn of the tide, right? He comes back and he makes his triumphant return just in time for like pretty much around the civil rights and like, you know what I mean? That's when, so what he was feeling, you know, is what kind of everybody was feeling like, I can't take this shit no more. Like, you know what I mean? Enough. So I'm glad that he comes back right when there's like literally a revolution, like, you know what I mean? So that's great.
And not only a revolution socially, but also musically.
Absolutely.
With him.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing. So jazz, at that point, it was all about bebop, like, which was really fast. It was a very fast style, like really fast chord changes. And it was kind of the style that was, you know, it had been popular, and he had more or less gotten really good at it before.
Right.
But now, you know, he's still doing that. And he's kind of getting a little bit disillusioned with it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, like, there's so much... The way that I heard it, somebody say, it was like there was too much focus on virtuosity and being a virtuoso with your instrument, that it was like, it was just getting too complicated. And, like, people... It was becoming less and less, like, accessible.
Relatable and stuff like, yeah. Because, you don't want to, like, alienate your audience. Like, what? I can't understand. Like, you know, good night, sir. Like, you don't want to do that to them.
And it's all these like really fast runs, like all that super fast shit.
The kind of jazz I can't stand, to be honest.
And neither can Miles. And this is the thing that's so cool about Miles. He was just always trying to push the envelope. And he kind of looked around at the musical scene. He was like, okay, this is what everybody's doing. How do I do the exact opposite of this? And then this is where Bill Evans comes back.
Yes.
Because Bill Evans was a piano player and like a music theorist who had kind of been like playing around with this idea of something called modal jazz.
Yes.
So, all right. So if we have any people listening to us right now or watching this right now that aren't musicians, we're about to lose you right now. Because I've been playing music for more than half my life, and this shit is still kind of hard to explain. But it was the modal jazz. I'm going to get into it. It was something that Bill Evans was kind of working out in theory, but it was something that Miles was actually able to make happen.
Yes.
So I have here... Wait, where do I have it? Oh, wait. I have here a vinyl copy of Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Not only is it kind of blue, but it's actually really blue. And it's beautiful. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should go look at the color of this blue, because it's like mesmerizing. But anyway, I'm not going to try to explain modal jazz. So I'm going to let Bill Evans do it for me.
Yes.
Because on the back of this record, Bill Evans wrote an article that I'm going to read to you people. And it's called Improvisation in Jazz. Do you want to... Can I do this part and then you do this part so we both read some of it?
I can't read.
Oh, sorry.
No, just of course.
Sorry, I forgot.
Gosh.
All right, so we're going to switch it off. But this is Improvisation in Jazz by Bill Evans. And this is actually beautifully written. I really like this. There's a Japanese visual art in which the artist is forced to be spontaneous. He must paint on a thin stretched parchment with a special brush and black water paint in such a way that an unnatural or interrupted stroke will destroy the line or break through the parchment. Erasures or changes are impossible. These artists must practice a particular discipline, that of allowing the idea to express itself in communication with their hands in such a direct way that deliberation cannot interfere. So basically, this is all about improv.
Mm-hmm.
This shit is not really written out. Miles will have like a very rough sketch of
Correct.
what he wants to do, and he'll just bring it to the musicians because all the people in his band he knows, he trusts, he knows that they're great.
Yeah.
So he's like, if I bring this to them, they're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
So the resulting pictures lack the complex composition and textures of ordinary painting, but it is said that those who see well find something captured that escapes explanation. The conviction that direct deed is the most meaningful reflection, I believe, has prompted the evolution of the extremely severe and unique disciplines of the jazz or improvising musician. Group improvisation is a further challenge. Aside from the weighty technical problem of collective coherent thinking, there is the very human, even social need for sympathy from all members to bend for the common result. The most difficult problem, I think, is beautifully met and solved on this recording.
Whoa.
Oh.
Bill
hyping himself up a little bit, but that's cool. As the painter needs his framework of parchment, the improvising musical group needs its framework in time. Miles Davis presents here frameworks which are exquisite in their simplicity and yet contain all that is necessary to stimulate performance with a sure reference to the primary conception. It's a lot of words.
Yeah.
Miles conceived these settings only hours before the recording dates and arrived with sketches which indicated to the group what was to be played. Therefore, you will hear something close to pure spontaneity in these performances. The group had never played these pieces prior to the recordings, and I think without exception that the first complete performance of each was the one that made it to the album.
Wow.
That's fucking wild. Mm-hmm. Although it is not uncommon for a jazz musician to be expected to improvise on new material at a recording session, the character of these pieces represents a particular challenge. So I'll give this to you for this part. Yeah. But basically, I'm going to try to explain what the fuck that means. Like, most of the time, like, in music, there's like a set chord progression or they have set melodies. Right. And like, you know kind of what you have to do. And it's, you can improvise a little bit, but you're in a little bit of a box. Where modal jazz, instead of chords, they'll just be like, okay, here, just play anything in this scale.
Yes.
For this amount of time.
Yeah.
And it's every single person at the same time improvising. So nobody, as you're playing, knows what the other person is going to do. Mm-hmm. So every single time you go through, it's completely different every time. It basically cannot be played the same way twice, no matter how hard you tried to do it.
Yes, yes.
So that is just interesting, and it's just, like, crazy to think of. Like, it's just like a thought exercise in music almost.
Yeah. That's the kind of creativity I thrive for. Like, I love. Miles is like the Biggie Smalls of trumpets. How about that?
We can get back to that.
Okay. So continuing on with the article that Bill Evans wrote. Briefly, the formal character of the 5 settings are so what is a simple figure based on 16 measures of one scale, 8 of another, and 8 more of the first, following a piano and bass introduction in free rhythmic style. Freddie is a 12-measure blues form given new personality by effective melodic and rhythmic simplicity. Blue in Green is a 10-measure circular form following a 4-measure introduction and played by soloists in various augmentation and diminution of time values. Flamenco Sketches is a 6/8 12-measure blues form that produces its mood through only a few modal changes and Miles Davis's free melodic conception. All blues is a series of 5 scales, each to be played as long as the soloist wishes until he has completed the series. Okay, so everybody's at the behest of the soloist, you know, and you have to play within that scale form. And I mean, this can be seen in dance as well. It can be seen in choreography, which is like so amazing. And so it's not strange, but it is strange at the same time. It's strange and familiar, which is the great thing about the great Miles Davis, you know.
And it's so crazy to think about, like, the first one, what did it say? It was 16 measures of one scale, 8 of another. That's so, like, you think about that, like, for a musician, 16 bars is a lot. Mm-hmm. That's basically a whole verse. You're just like, here, you just have a scale. Go for it. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. It's so crazy. And it only works because he knows all these musicians and he knows how good they are.
Yes.
And they just pull it off so beautifully.
Yeah.
And it sounds so great.